welcome back. And if this is your first time in, welcome here. So I am starting off with a 30-ounce skinny from Hog, and I am going to do a vinyl wrap. This particular design here is something that is available on my website. It's part of my St. Patrick's Day theme, but it's more that everything was like green and kind of gold. So, but if you love green and gold or just green or whatever, this would be a perfect tumbler for anybody that had that affliction. But anyways. So I printed this on just some really, it was like this metallic, shimmery metallic printer paper that was like vinyl paper that was given to me a while back. And I really love it to just give a little extra oomph to something. And so I took it into the Adobe Illustrator, and because these are all seamless patterns. So this was like a really big pattern. And then I made it into this smaller and smaller and smaller. And then I made the pattern bigger and bigger and bigger, right? So there was more roses, more, so that's what I love about these seamless patterns. You can kind of make them whatever you want them to be. And I have a video coming out very soon about how to do that. And you'll be able to accomplish this look in no time. Considering I picked the larger version of the tumblers, that I had to use 2 sheets of paper, right? So I had to print off 2. So I'm not exactly sure. I think probably my printer or something just got off, but it lined up on the one side, but then when I tried to clean it up on the other side, it was just a tad bit like it was like up from the other. I have no idea why it was like that, but I know it has something to do with the printer, because everything else lined up perfectly over and over and over again when I was doing it. I think it was just like printing one and then printing the other. Maybe somehow the printer paper was just not right. I don't know. It's the only thing I can explain, because other than that, you could make this pattern as big or as small as you want. So this is me trying to figure out where the pattern should start. Like okay, so now we're at this point of the pattern is right here. So I'm trying to, pinpoint exactly where this pattern should start for us to be able to line it up, right? And so this is when I realized that it's lining up perfect on the top part, but it is not lining up on the bottom for some reason. Like halfway down the bottom, it just didn't, but it was just ever so slightly off. So that's why I put it into the fact that it was the printer. Anyways, you'll see when I make the video, when I show you the video of being able to just connect them all as small or as big as you want. It's very, very simple, and it shouldn't have done that. Anyways, beside the point, I am trimming up the top and the bottom here so that I can put this in my Camipaige cutter, my Camipaige petite cutter. So here I am just cutting off that white line. Now I left the white lines on this one because I wasn't sure exactly where I was going to match up that pattern with the other, with the cohesive pattern. So I just kind of left those on there. So at this point, I'm like, okay, now I can chop them off, because I'm at the point where I can add this other piece, and I don't want that bulge coming from underneath of that other piece of that white, or that, outline of the print. So anyways, I lined this up. I just kind of opened this up and then lined it up to the best of my abilities here. But this was just basically to show y'all that you can make this as big and as little, as you want these seamless patterns to be. I actually pushed it a little further over onto my my pattern vinyl there, and so I had to kind of peel it up, and so I had a little tiny bit of a the print kind of came off. So I just sliced that off and just kind of left it alone because I didn't want to mess up anything else by, you know. Anyways, I was trying to make it as seamless as possible, but I think had I been able to just like have like a full 12 by 12 sheet of vinyl, I think it would have been perfectly able to line up, but it just, with cutting it and the second print and all of that anyways. So those are my excuses, and I'm just going to stick to it. So anyways, I added that second piece and that little extra there and kind of trimmed it up. And then I've taken my Camipaige boutique cutter here, and I am trimming up the bottom, and I am going to trim up the top part. This stuff really likes to stick, so it is like as soon as you put it on there, it's like, okay, I'm here to stay, and that's it. So even cutting it afterwards, it was a little bit difficult to get these little pieces off of here, so I kind of had to start and help it out. So, but anyways, so I cut the top and the bottom off using that Camipaige cutter, boutique cutter, which is usually phenomenal and everything's fine. It's just this vinyl is very serious about staying attached to its piece. So I decided, since I had such a little bit of an issue and it just wasn't as clean as I thought it was going to be, I thought, okay, well, I'll just add some stripes. So I just found this really beautiful metallic green. It just is like perfect for St. Patrick's Day, I believe. And so I just cut off a few strips and did the back side here. And then I ended up putting stripes on the top and the bottom as well. So these 3D printed pieces are from Camipaige Boutique, and she always has something for the season, whatever, is coming up. And she had these 3D printed shamrocks, and I just was like, I'm sold. I have to do it. I always do a St. Patrick's Day tumbler on this channel, and so I was like, absolutely, we have to do it. So I was just kind of showing the whole set there. I got the straw holder, and the straw attachment, and then the big one, and then like some smaller ones, and then like medium-sized ones. And so I just put a coat of epoxy. I had to put 2 coats just because I just didn't feel like it was, because what I wanted to do was I did not want to have very many coats of epoxy here. That's why I didn't want to do glitter. I wanted to do this vinyl because, number one, I wanted to show it to you guys, but also I just didn't want this to be super heavy. So I figured if I put a bunch of glitter on here and then I add those chunks of, shamrocks on there, it's just, we're going to be in a whole world of heaviness that we don't need to be in. So this is, I was trying to decide on what I was going to do with these. And so I had pulled out like a lot of different glitters and different mica powders. And I thought maybe I was going to do like where it kind of a gradient look where it's this green to that green to this green kind of thing. But I ended up just deciding that I decided to use this Southern Belle Glitter foil glue, which is really cool for the tack it method. And so I decided on this particular green glitter that is from SOC Glitters, and it's kind of more of like an additive, but it is gorgeous green like that I wanted for this particular look as far as St. Patrick's Day. And then also it has a holographic shift. And so I thought that would really add to the rainbow-esque, vibe that you get at this time of year for the St. Patrick's Day. I ended up putting this glue all over all of these different sizes here. And then I went in with that coat of the green glitter. And this was me deciding, I had this new glitter from Chase Ray, and I was trying to decide whether or not I wanted to do like a darker green or whatever. But this one just really was singing to me and saying that this is what you really need to use. So after deciding on that green, I was kind of laying everything out. This is me just trying to decide on whether or not do I want to put it, like, do I put them here, there, whatever. I was trying to figure out kind of like a step ladder kind of look to it, or, it was not a full on thought out process. I just knew that I wanted to use them. This is me still debating on the glitter because I was really, really liking the glitter, but I think I finally decided to go with that green and just saying that, no, that's what we need to do. So at this point, they have been drying for over an hour. I think after I put that on there, I went and made breakfast and sat down and had that. So I came back and I just poured that glitter over all of them. And then at this point, I'm just kind of doing a tack it method. So I'm just rubbing it on there and getting it flat so that all of that holographicness will come through. I'm also trying to make sure that I get all of those little petals, those little curves that are on the side, and making sure that we are covering this fully. Now, I will have to say this was not as successful as the last tacket I did, but I think it was the material and just the, I'm not 100% sure if you might need to maybe sand these before you start. I really didn't want to do too much to them because I wasn't fully sure, I wasn't sure on whether or not the material, I'm sure it can take a sand, but I just kind of was like, I'm just going to put it on there and just go from there. So I will have to talk to Brooke at Camipaige Boutique and see if I can sand these down, because I think maybe if I would have sanded it down, the glue would have stuck so much better. But I just had a few things that I had to fix later on, but no big deal. I'll go over that a little bit later. But I was just rubbing everything in. This was a messy job. Definitely wear gloves if you do this, because the glue was so sticky, and then this is so thin or so fine that I was green for a while. So after I got done with rubbing all of that on, I finally got wised up and got a glove. So, but anyways, I took my really stiff bristle brush here, and I was brushing off all of that glitter to really give it, make sure there wasn't any excess. I didn't want excess to come off on my tumbler, but that was inevitable. There was no way I was going to avoid that happening, and I should have known that from the beginning. But it just eventually just kind of came off a little bit. So I just kind of went with it, and so a little bit of the shimmer is there in the end result, but no big deal. So anyways, I just brushed all of the excess as much as I could off of there, and then we went to this next step. So I wanted to show you in Design Space how I took this decal that I found. I think I found it on Maker's Gonna Learn, and I thought it was really cool because I had this big shamrock, right? This big 3D shamrock, and I found this decal, and I thought, hey, I'll just take that shamrock out of the middle, and we'll just put our 3D shamrock in the middle in replacing of it, right? So in place of it. So what I'm going to show you here is how I removed this piece, because this was already a created decal, right? So I couldn't just take that out because the smaller shamrocks on the side were going to come out, and I actually did want to keep those. So I thought it was going to be really simple just to kind of just shut that down with a little eye on the side. But I just went ahead and was like, okay, I'll just use this as a teaching moment, and we'll just take this circle here and we'll put this in the middle, and then you can't do the whole thing, so we have to make sure that we click on the see, I don't have there is no contour either, and that was another thing too that I was thinking that I could just contour that one shamrock out. But I ended up having to take the circle and control and then hit the shamrock and do a slice, right? So now our shamrock is completely gone. So our big shamrock is gone. Now I want to make sure that everything is together. So I'm going to join them together, and I wanted to make sure that the size of the big shamrock that we have was going to fit inside of here. So I needed it to be smaller, obviously, because it's just a decal that's going to go on a tumbler. So normally that's about 3.5, 4 inches is about, especially for a 30 ounce, and it was a skinny. So I went ahead and combined this together. And then I added this piece here in the middle, the shape, because what I wanted to do was make sure that the shape was in the size of the actual 3D piece that was going in that middle, right? So I wanted to make sure that we were staying in the dimensions so I could make this as big as I wanted or as a little bit smaller as I wanted. So I made that octagon in the middle as big as the 3D piece of the shamrock, and then I just kind of connected them together and then measured it and then edited the size at that point to be the size that I wanted the decal to be, especially to go around that shamrock and to look appropriate. So then I just deleted that octagon because obviously I don't need that. And I went in to cut it, and I still kept the wording as one green and those shamrocks as a different green. So I did 2 different types of green. So I just kept everything the same except for removing that big shamrock. So here I am pulling out the tumbler, making sure that it is perfectly in the back, that I'm in the middle of the front side. And I'm just checking things out, making sure that, that's going to fit on there. It just was really funny because those things were so rounded on the backside. So I just kept thinking, do they really fit on here? No, they fit on here. And then I kept adding the layers of epoxy. So then I kept kind of being concerned that they wouldn't, still be attached, but they did. Everything was fine. Weeding out this decal here, there was one little piece of the apostrophe S that did not come out appropriately, so I had to go back and cut the whole thing again and then just add that little piece of that apostrophe S to the decal. So then I added those tiny little shamrocks that I wanted to keep in the design. I thought they were super cute, and obviously we're doing shamrocks, so I wanted to keep the shamrocks. So I did those in like a iridescent green, so I thought they just kind of have a little bit of contrast. So then I just took the decal, made sure that my little thing was going to fit in the middle there, and I did the math correctly, and I measured correctly. So that was nice. So anyways, using transfer tape, I just took that decal off and put that in the middle. I actually did, when I was putting it down, I was trying to put it in the very center of the tumbler, and then that piece just flopped down on the tumbler. So I said, well, I guess this is where it's going to go. So I ended up using it to my advantage because I put a big shamrock on one bottom, or on one end, top and bottom. So I put a small and a medium size. So I kind of used that to where I just needed a little extra room, that kind of thing. And this is where I had to cut it all over again just so I could get that one little piece for the apostrophe and the S. So I just wanted to see it one more time just to make sure that we were right there in the center and everything looked great. So now I am, this is just my thought process of how I wanted to put the rest of the ones on there. And because this is where I had thought that I was going to do like an ombre look, like I said. And so, I'm not sure that I had enough really to kind of go around the tumbler as much as, maybe I should have done like a coffee cup or something. I think I would have gotten a little bit more out of the size and the shape, or the size of the shamrocks themselves. But anyways, I went in with a coat of Mod Podge and covered that decal up so that we could put a coat of epoxy here. So then I went in with a coat of epoxy here, and I was still trying to keep these epoxy coats as thin as possible because I'm going to go in with the attaching of the shamrocks here in just a second. I'm going to show you how I attached just 2 of them because it's a long video, so I didn't want to spend any more time on that. So I'm going to show you here that I basically came back in about 3.5 hours. So in about 3.5 hours, I came back, and this is where we were with the process of the tumbler. So it's still spinning. The epoxy is still very, I won't say it's like super, super wet, but it is still very gooey, I guess would be the best way to say it. So I leaned in here and I put the fusion glue, and I just pushed it right into that epoxy. So at this point, we've got glue and we've got the epoxy that is still at this point still curing, right? So now I am ensuring that these shamrocks, unless you are prying them off with a crowbar, I don't think are going to come off of there. So that was my main concern. So this is me putting the 2 on there. So what I did at first was I did this one and I did that one, and then I went up and did the one on the top. But the main thing here was that I let this sit for probably about 10 minutes or so, and then I came back in and I turned it to the side and I did the sides because I wanted to make sure that we didn't have any kind of movement with the shamrock sliding or slipping and sliding because the glue was still a little bit wet and whatnot, and then the epoxy is still a little bit gooey, so I just didn't want any movement there. So I just waited about 10 minutes and then came back and did the rest of the sides. So here I had put that coat of epoxy on, and then I had glued all of these pieces on, right? So now we just have our raw pieces, if you will, because I haven't done any kind of sealing or anything over there. Well, I did have a little bit of removal from the glitter. So what I did was I took a little bit of that Southern Belle glitter glue, and I just went around and kind of brushed it on wherever I felt like there was a little bit of piece maybe showing, or a little bit of that glitter just kind of rubbed off from me touching them, or just maybe I didn't have enough glue on there in the very beginning. But this is where I just went around kind of touching up everything, and this is really super easy to do. And this is how I got more of that green glitter into the overall epoxy look, because I did not seal this afterwards, which probably was my fail. If I would have maybe sealed it, I might have been able to just get just the glitter on these, but no big deal. I mean, who doesn't love some glitter, right? So no big deal. I would just went around and editing, some of those spots that were missed, and then went in with some more some more glitter. And this is where I attempted to get as much of that glitter off of the tumbler as possible. But, glitter is glitter, and it's going to go where it wants to go. So that was not going to happen, but I tried. So I did make sure that I did trim up the top part there and got as much of the epoxy off as possible, because we're not doing any kind of, full-on epoxy. And also because we want those final layers to, attach to the stainless steel like we always do. So this one was really simple. I didn't have to take it outside to do the Dremel. I just did a little bit of sanding right here and just kind of opened up a little bit of that, that edge there on the top, and then I just cleaned it with some alcohol, and then I went in with my final coats. So I went in, what I wanted to show you here with this coat of epoxy was I wanted to show you how like simple or how light I was with the epoxy. So like I literally had probably about 10 milliliters of this epoxy that I tried to put on here. I basically just wanted to get an attachment to make sure that these were sealed. The shamrocks were sealed. The glitter was sealed in. The everything was kind of cohesive as far as it was all connected by that epoxy, right? So, but then for some reason, I had some fisheyes, and I think it was probably because I was manhandling this tumbler trying to put the extra glue, and I think some of that extra glue maybe made the epoxy kind of repel. So I thought this was going to be my final coat, but about an hour after I put it on, I could just see all those fisheyes coming up, and I was like, well, we're going to have to put another coat on here, whether I like it or not. And so I had to end up going. But I wanted to kind of show you how I just kept kind of going over each one of those shamrocks, because this was the same thing that I did in our last coat. And this was our last coat here. I've sped this up quite a bit just to show you that I went over each one of those shamrocks over and over and over and over again, just to make sure that we were fully covered and solid and didn't have any more fisheyes on this tumbler or any fisheyes on those shamrocks, because I wanted them to be individually and shine on their own.
Hi everybody, my mom made this, and it is very cool. I'm sure you think it's cool too. Also, she is the best cup maker ever, and that is how she made this cup, because she is the best ever.
Can you describe it?
It's a fall March cup.
Spring March.
It's a spring March cup. And
for St. Patrick's Day.
For St. Patrick's Day.
Can you say like and subscribe?
Like and subscribe.
And comment down below. Tell me what you think.
And comment down below and see what you think about her new videos.
Thank you. Bye.